Good morning. This is the first attempt at Stata First Steps to give you an idea of how to get started with Stata and how I would go about looking at a set of data that I'm unfamiliar with. So this is my attempt to get you through chapters 1 and 4 while I am also social distancing away to protect the old person from any kind of virus. All right, here we go. So this is the original setup. When you open Stata, you get this kind of setup where you can see your workspace. You've got a history of commands, so you got a command window over here. Over here is your results window, so this is the results side. This is the actual commands you can type in this window. Now you can also get to commands up here in the command or in the list of options up here, and then you've got your variable list that would come up over here. So you can get all that information. They can give you more detail in page 4 of the text. And so the question is, how do I get my data? And there's multiple ways. You can get Stata files, non-Stata files, manual data entry, which is, nobody wants that. And then you can get pre-installed data, which is what we're going to use, and I'll show you that in a minute. Then you can save and export data. A non-Stata file, the way I go about getting those is I would go to the File tab, then come down to Import, and then that's going to give you all of these options. So if you're trying to pull in an Excel file or some other kind, obviously, you can click on this and then you can go browse for the file that you're interested in. So the data set we're wanting to use is one of the pre-installed data sets. And so the way you're going to go about getting that is in the command window, the one that's down here. Okay, you're going to type the command sysuse nls88, clear. Sysuse tells Stata what you want to use. This is going to be the data name, and right here, the clear pulls out any other data sets you currently have in your working memory. So that's that part. So when you ask for a pre-installed data set, it will give you some of these, and then it can also give you a list of options. So here's that auto one that they talk about early in the book. But we're going to spend most of our time down here with this NLS88 and see where that takes us. So then one other thing I wanted to remind you of is this part. Make sure that if you get a very busy results window, you can always clear that results window by using just type in CLS and the command line down here and hit return, and that'll clean that up for you. And so here we're going to figure out the basic 5 things that I look at when I'm trying to understand my data. So here's just a few commands. So how do I look at what variables I have? Describing it. This one I like a lot, but you may have to download that. Summarize and tab, and then this one I also always think about the Chisquare in that one. So here we go. So the first thing you get when you open your data set is over on the right hand side you'll get a list of variables. Okay, and so the list will give you the name of the variable and the label that you can assign it. Now if you don't like those, you can also go up to the tools menu and click on data, and then you can manage your variables. Okay, so you can get in here and say, okay, I don't like the name, the label, or those kinds of administrative things, and you can go in here and clean those up however you want to. But in this case, you're looking for the variables manager. So the first thing I always do is down in my command line, I will use describe, or you can use just the DES and hit return. And when that happens, you get the basic layout of your data. So there's all the variables. One other thing, so I've got 17 of those. It also tells me I've got 2246 observations. So my N is equal to 2246. That obviously is important, because then that tells you kind of where you are in terms of the amount of data you're trying to deal with. Also helps you identify and clean missing data, and potentially clean your data as you go along. Another one that's really important that I like a lot is this frequency, because I tend to like more information about this in terms of are there details underneath a particular variable. So in this case I use the free, and I'm looking at the race variable. Okay, and the thing to remember down here is I get that free variable from something that they call community contributed software. So to get it downloaded, you would go in and in the command line you'd type in SSC, install free, and then the replace is replacing any previous version of the free that you have in place. And then you would free, and in this case I'm using the race variable, and it would give me the detail. Over here I use the age variable. Okay, so you can get some detail and relative percentages that kind of show the distribution of the data. Okay, now yeah, so that's the piece. One other thing, I guess, is that in the total data, again, we have 2246 in terms of our total observations for these two variables. Then we could summarize the data. It's another way to take a look at it. In that case, we also get the min and the max, and the mean and the standard deviation. So again, we can look at both age and race, or how many variables you want to look at. But then if you want to look at this in more detail, you can get more information about this in terms of the smallest and largest observations. You get obviously the mean and the standard deviation again, but now you get some variant skewness and kurtosis stuff that if you have that information, go talk to Russ. Anyway, that's the setup for summarize. The next one I really like is always the tab, and that one gets set up with just tab, age, and pick another variable. So, or in this case, pick two variables. So I picked age and whether they live in Central City. For me, I really like cross tabs because that gives me a little more connection in the variables. And so here it will list the ages that I have in my data set, and then it will tell me how many within the ages live in Central City. Okay, and so here they don't, here they do, and if you don't like the 0, 1, you can go back in and name it, so you'll get different information. Here I did city and race. Okay, now one of the things I want you to notice is here's my original 2246 in terms of my total sample size, but over here I've only got the 2220. So I must have some things that are missing, and I'm going to have to try and deal with those particular variables as I move along. Okay. And so the other thing you can do here is, because I like this kind of data, I can also go through it and add the Chisquare. In this case, the row sets me up where the rows will equal 100%. And then I get the percentages here within the row. Okay. And so then the Chisquare, as you probably know, will give you this data. In this case, it's statistically significant. And the result indicates that, okay, I would have expected about 73% and 73 and 26% in terms of my white and black residents. However, down in here, who's living in Central City, it's much more even, almost 50-50. So as a result, that's not going to meet my expectations, so actually will be different. So I have a chi-square that's going to be statistically significant. The other thing you can take a look at in here is an introduction. This guy's a little fast, but if you go to this YouTube channel or this YouTube video, he'll take you through some other details. It's about 15 minutes long, so I can't say that he's any better looking than me because his face isn't on there either. But nonetheless, that's the original setup, and we'll go from there. All right, take care.